It's Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. And I want you to just think back 5 days ago, a Thursday.
Right.
You were probably just going about your day, right? Working, scrolling on your phone. But while we were all doing that, something fundamental to global security just quietly broke.
It really did.
Yeah?
It's one of those things that, at the time feels like background noise.
Yeah.
But historians will see it as a massive turning point.
We are talking about the expiration of the New START Treaty, the New Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. It officially ended on February 5th.
Which means, and this is the key takeaway, for the first time in more than 50 years.
50 years. It's hard to even wrap your head around that.
It is. For the first time since Nixon and Brezhnev, there are absolutely no legally binding limits on the nuclear arsenals of the U.S. and Russia.
And we should just state up front, those two countries hold something like 85% of all the world's nuclear weapons.
Exactly, the vast majority of them. So no guardrails.
And it wasn't like they didn't try, right? The final hour sounded like something out of a movie.
Oh, it was total diplomatic drama. You had U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner in a hotel in Abu Dhabi, literally hours before the deadline, negotiating with Russian officials.
Down to the wire.
Completely. And the scuttlebutt was they were so close to a handshake deal, just a voluntary agreement to keep the limits in place.
But then, nothing.
Nothing. The clock ran out. And the UN Secretary General Guterres, he called it a grave moment.
Which is about the most diplomatic way of saying we're in trouble.
It is. And that's our mission for this deep dive. We're looking at a strategic assessment from Fareed Novin of the Global Review. It maps out the next 5 years, 2026 to 2031.
And it's not just about the U.S. and Russia being, off the leash. The whole game has changed.
Right. The report uses something called Bayesian game theory to model all this out.
Okay, hold on. Bayesian game theory. That sounds incredibly academic. Break that down for us.
Sure, yeah. Think of it like a poker game where the lights are out. You have to make bets based on incomplete information. Every single move your opponent makes or doesn't make, you have to update your gets about what's in their hand.
So you're always assuming the worst.
You have to. In a world with no inspections, no data sharing, if you think there's even a tiny chance your rival is building a new weapon, you are forced to build a counter weapon. It's a feedback loop.
A feedback loop of paranoia.
Precisely. And the report says we're now in a high-risk environment because you've got China's expansion, North Korea, even allies like South Korea feeding into this spiral.
Let's start with that immediate fallout, the post-new START vacuum. The report gives the current numbers. The U.S. has, around 7,770 deployed strategic warheads?
And Russia has about 1,718. So very close on paper.
So if I'm playing devil's advocate, I'd say, what's the big deal? You have 1,700, I have 1,700. We can both destroy the world multiple times over. We're still in a stalemate, aren't we?
That is the common misconception. It's not about the total number. It's about speed and survivability. And that's where the report highlights this concept called surge capacity.
Surge capacity, what does that actually look like?
Okay, so under the treaty, you might have a missile that can carry, say, 10 warheads, but the treaty limited you to loading only 3. So you have these empty slots.
So now the treaty's gone,
Yeah.
you just fill up the empty slots.
You fill them up, you take the warheads that were in storage, and you upload them. The assessment says the U.S. could boost its air-based warheads from 300 to 780 in just a few weeks.
Weeks. Wow.
And submarine capacity could jump from about 1,920 to 2,240. You weren't even building anything new, just maximizing what you've got.
But why is that more dangerous? If we both do it, we're still balanced,
Because it makes each target much, much juicier.
Yeah.
If one submarine now carries 200 warheads instead of 80, sinking that one sub becomes a huge prize.
So it incentivizes a first strike.
It creates the classic use it or lose it dilemma, and we're doing it all blind.
The transparency crisis, that part of the report really stood out.
This is the fuel for that Bayesian paranoia.
Yeah.
Russia suspended inspections way back in February 2023. We haven't had eyes on the ground in 3 years.
So we're just guessing what they're up to.
We are. And in nuclear strategy, you always plan for the absolute worst case scenario. And Russia has modernized 95% of its forces. Plus, they have around 1,500 tactical battlefield nukes that were never part of any treaty.
So if this were just a reboot of the Cold War, that would be bad enough. But the report argues the whole game has changed. We have to talk about the rising third power.
China.
The numbers in the report are just staggering. China's arsenal has doubled since 2019.
Doubled. As of right now, early 2026, they're at about 600 warheads. The projection is they could hit 1,500 by 2035. And they're building the infrastructure, digging around 300 new ICBM silos.
But it's not just the number, it's the technology. The report flags this DF-5C missile.
Unveiled in September of 2025. Yeah, this is a game changer. It's not just a bigger bomb, it has a range of over 12,000 miles. But the key is a capability called fractional orbital bombardment.
Okay, that sounds like science fiction. What does that actually do?
So a traditional ICBM flies in a high, predictable arc, like a long football pass.
Mm-hmm.
Our radars are designed to track that arc.
Right.
Fractional orbital bombardment puts the warhead into low Earth orbit first, like a satellite. It can circle the globe and then deorbit to its target.
Yeah.
It can come at the U.S. from over the South
The
Pole.
South Pole. But all our radars face north over the Arctic.
Exactly. It's a total blind spot. It makes our entire missile defense system, well, basically obsolete.
That feels like it breaks the rules of the game.
It resets the board.
Mm.
And that's why China isn't interested in trilateral arms control. Their spokesperson, Lin Jian, basically said this month that they'll talk when their arsenal's as big as the other two.
A nice way of saying, we'll stop building when we've caught up.
Which, from their perspective, makes sense. But for global stability, it's a nightmare. And there's zero trust.
So now we have this unregulated three-player chess match. But the report says the real flashpoints might be the smaller players.
Absolutely. North Korea. The report uses this term, nuclear completion. That sounds final.
It is. For decades, U.S. policy was based on denuclearization. That's over. The 2025 National Security Strategy doesn't even mention it. The world has basically accepted North Korea as a permanent nuclear state.
And they have the goods, material for 90 warheads, around 50 of them assembled. The scary part is their new law from September 2022.
What does it say?
It allows for preemptive nuclear strikes if their leadership feels threatened.
So if Kim Jong-un even thinks there's a threat.
He has the legal justification under his own laws to launch. It's a hair trigger.
And we saw in 2025 with India and Pakistan that just having nukes doesn't prevent conflict.
That was a huge wake-up call. After a terror attack, they launched missiles deep into each other's territory for the first time since 1971.
I remember that. It felt like we were right on the edge.
We were. It proved that nuclear weapons don't stop conventional wars, and those wars can escalate incredibly fast. It took direct U.S. intervention to de-escalate that.
Which brings us to what I thought was the most unnerving section of the whole report, the domino effect.
South Korea.
The report calls it the highest risk proliferation scenario in the world.
Well, put yourself in Seoul's shoes. You see the big powers tearing up treaties. You see North Korea with a full-blown arsenal. You see China with space weapons. That nuclear umbrella the U.S. has provided for 70 years starts to look a little thin, doesn't it?
And the public feels it, a 76.2% approval rating for getting their own nukes.
It's the highest it's ever been. The report notes that books on nuclear strategy are bestsellers there. This is a mainstream conversation.
And there was that submarine deal in October 2025.
That was huge. President Trump approved South Korea's request for nuclear-powered submarines. Now, that's nuclear-powered, not nuclear-armed. But the technology is a massive stepping stone.
It's the starter kit for a bomb.
Pretty much. The report predicts a high probability South Korea withdraws from the Non-Proliferation Treaty, the NPT, by 2027.
And if South Korea gets the bomb,
Japan has to respond. The first domino falls.
Japan is called a threshold state. What does that mean?
It means they have everything they need. They have 46 metric tons of separated plutonium, which is bomb fuel. They have advanced space launch technology, which is a delivery system. They could build a weapon in months.
So if South Korea goes nuclear, the political pressure in Japan to do the same would be immense.
It would likely overcome the taboo.
Yeah.
Then you have a nuclear Northeast Asia, and the dominoes don't stop there. Turkey's new Russian-built nuclear plant comes online this year. Brazil is developing a nuclear submarine using highly enriched uranium.
What's the issue with the sub?
It's a safeguards loophole. Naval fuel programs are often exempt from the strictest inspections. It's the perfect cover to divert weapons-grade material.
Okay, so let's pull back. The report lays out 4 possible future scenarios between now and 2031. What are they?
Right, and they assign probabilities. Scenario 1 is reinforced deterrence. That gets a 40% chance. This is the best-case muddle-through option.
What does that look like?
The U.S. and Russia reach an informal agreement, and the U.S. creates a Pacific Nuclear Planning Group to give allies like South Korea and Japan a seat at the table, a say in U.S. nuclear planning.
So you let them in the room so they don't feel the need to build their own room.
Exactly. It reassures them.
Okay, 40%. That's not exactly comforting. What's scenario 2?
The East Asian domino, 35% probability. This is the one that's really worrying. North Korea conducts a 7th nuclear test. South Korea says that's it and withdraws from the NPT. Japan follows suit.
A 1 in 3 chance of that happening.
Essentially, yes. Then you have scenario 3, global norm collapse. 15% probability.
That sounds bad.
It's the nightmare. Russia uses a tactical nuke, or Iran makes a dash for the bomb. The entire non-proliferation regime just falls apart. It becomes a free-for-all.
And the last one?
Strategic retreat. Only a 10% chance. The U.S. goes neo-isolationist, pulls back its security guarantees, and as a result, 3 to 5 new nuclear states pop up by 2031 because they feel they have to defend themselves.
So a 60% chance things get worse or much more complicated. Does the report offer any solutions to stop the bleeding?
The main one is that Pacific Nuclear Planning Group. It's about rebuilding trust with allies and closing that submarine fuel loophole in the international rules.
And there's a big conference this spring, the NTT Review Conference.
It's going to be a huge test.
Yeah.
The whole system is under strain from the U.S., Russia, China problem, and also this idea of friendly proliferation.
Friendly proliferation.
Yeah, it's this emerging idea that maybe it's not so bad if our allies get nuclear weapons. If the U.S. can't be everywhere, maybe we want a nuclear South Korea to deter China.
It's a tempting argument, isn't it? Let them handle their own security.
It is. But that leads to the real question this whole situation forces us to ask, and it's the thought I want to leave you with. If the U.S. nuclear umbrella is seen as leaking, is a world with more nuclear states actually safer because deterrence is stronger everywhere? Or does the risk of miscalculation of an accident just multiply with every new country that gets the bomb?
The more fingers on the button, the higher the chance someone sneezes.
Exactly.
It's a terrifying thought, and it's not some far-off hypothetical anymore. This is the world we're living in right now.
The era of SALT and New START is over. We're in the transition.
Well, thank you for guiding us through that. It's a lot to process, but it's critical to understand.
My pleasure.
And to all of you listening, stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.